This chapter comes from Bobby Seagull's The Life-Changing Magic of Numbers, How Maths Shapes Everyday Life. This edition was published in 2019. The original was 2018 from Virgin Books, I believe. And there's a comment from the Daily Mail that says this book is truly mind-blowing. So this is chapter 1. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Counting, ordering numbers, and basic data handling tools. It was the winter of 1993. Meatloaf's I'd Do Anything for Love was number 1 in the charts, and I was a small boy of 9 standing in the playground in an oversized hooded winter jacket, clutching my most prized possession, the Merlin 1993-1994 Premier League Football Collection sticker book. Growing up as a child in 1990s East London, the language of the playground was football, and the currency to participate was football stickers. Got, need. This was a phrase that frequently passed my lips as I attempted to barter stickers with other children. I calmly stated that the stickers that I had already got in my collection, but excitedly blurted out need for the stickers that were still required. After the school bell rang out for the weekend, my regular Friday afternoon rush was to the local corner shop. I would spend my few pounds of pocket money on several packets of overpriced adhesive labels. My friends not only traded stickers, but we used to hypothesise about which players would make the ideal transfer. While Blackburn Rovers' prolific striker Alan Shearer would be more suited to Alex Ferguson's forward line at Manchester United, children could dream of a world where Alan would ply his trade at West Ham's Upton Park. The sticker world was clearly not the real world. This is where numbers first played a role in my social identity. Of course, my first connection with numbers was that most simple pleasure, one of counting basic numbers, 1, 2, 3. However, it was in this new setting that I found numbers coming into their own. Most footballing conversations with my peers were based on assertions without evidence, such as saying that Arsenal's Ian Wright was a more effective striker than Southampton's Matt Letizia. But the confidence to use numbers helped me to carve my own identity. I knew that these strikers had both scored 15 goals in their previous league campaigns, and this fact helped to add credence to my arguments. After swapping new stickers, I recall rushing home with my sticker book and furiously tapping in the information on all my new stickers into my master spreadsheet in Microsoft Excel. For example, with Manchester United striker Eric Cantona, I entered his personal details, height 1.86 metres, weight 81 kilograms, and his performance statistics, 33 appearances, 2 substitute, 15 goals, of which 10 were with the right foot, 1 with the left foot, and 4 with the head. A few years later in secondary school, I progressed onto using the database software Microsoft Access for this same task, but with more efficiency. Inputs included players' names, starting position, heights, and data from the previous year, such as games played and goals scored. Armed with this, I was able to make more accurate assessments about players. If a West Ham fan wanted to find out possible players who were defenders, more than 1.83 metres and played more than 20 games in the season prior, a quick sorting formula on Excel would weave its magic, and bam, I would be able to come up with a list of a few players who could fit the bill. I found the relatively painless skill to rank players by different criteria in my spreadsheet, height, goals scored or games played, allowed me to turn a complex world into something I could begin to fathom. This balanced my subjective opinions of players based on their trickery and confidence on the ball with objective comparisons of players. Apparently meaningless numbers, such as the heights of various players, could be brought to life with basic data techniques such as mean, median, and modes that let me compare them against each other. Suddenly, I could impress my friends with answers to questions like, which is the average tallest squad in the league? Or, which team has the highest number of goals being contributed from midfield? All straightforward to interrogate with a few clicks of Excel. Perhaps I missed a trick in not turning this objective analysis of football into a business. Now companies like Opta Sports have done so with shrewd commercial success. What numbers gave me was a sense of knowing in a world of conjecture. Like Linus's security blanket in the Snoopy cartoons, numbers gave me a bedrock upon which to form myself. In fact, if I'm really honest, my sense of the certainty of data can be traced back a couple of years earlier than the Premier League sticker book. It stemmed from a Christmas gift in 1991 and a book that perhaps changed my life and rooted my love of numbers, data and information. The Top 10 of Everything 1992 by Russell Ashe. From the moment I delicately unwrapped the paper from this gift, I was devouring ordered lists. Lists about the top 10 tallest buildings in the world, the top 10 grossing films at the box office, the top 10 longest migration paths of any species, and more. You name a topic, astronomy, art, food and drink, music, and I could start reciting off lists at breakneck speed, perhaps without quite understanding what lay behind the numbers. The 1992 Barcelona Olympic Summer Games was the first time I saw a visually captivating way numbers could express the physical peak of young athletes. Team GB captain Linford Christie storming through to win the 100 metres in 9.96 seconds. Carl Lewis edging out Mike Powell by 3 centimetres in an epic men's long jump final. Lavinia Milosevic's memorising floor routine in the gymnastics to secure her a perfect 10 score. As a little boy, I was sprawled on the living room floor, scoffing my face with digestive biscuits and fixated by the sports. I was slowly coming to understand that numbers were a way of working out sizes and sequences and establishing who the winners and losers were. Numbers were abundant in my eyes, ranking and ordering competitors and nations, trying to objectively quantify things that seemed a million miles from my maths lessons at school. Early on, I had learned to adore numbers not just in the classroom, but also in the real world. But what's the big deal with numbers, you might ask? Where have they come from? And what's the point in ordering them and processing them into neat little sets of information? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and if you ask me, he created numbers shortly after, especially if he needed to take the 7th day off as rest. There is evidence to suggest that within a few hours of being born, babies start developing an abstract representation of numbers. It is at this abstract stage where we as humans move beyond most other species on the planet. Many animals do seem to distinguish in a primitive manner between more and less as a concept. But as a species, humans have elevated ourselves beyond hunter-gatherers, for the most part, to a more enlightened existence, scrolling through cute cat videos on Facebook. However, deep in the Amazon rainforest, the Piraha tribe continue to live as they seem to have for time immemorial. Their counting system goes 1, 2, and then many. In a similar vein, the African Hadza tribe, living near the Central Rift Valley in Tanzania, count only up to 3 and no more. Both these tribes seem to operate their society without the need to use specific large numbers, such as 107. However, the vast majority of humanity continues to progress by establishing relationships between abstract concepts of numbers involving the simple arithmetic operations of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Humans, assuming no mutation, are born with 10 digits, 10 fingers and thumbs in total. providing us with a natural counting frame. Given this, it's no coincidence that many civilizations developed a decimal, base 10, counting system. The Latin word for finger, digitus, means a number. Students I teach have asked me what would happen if humanity had been born with 3 fingers per hand, a bit like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. With a total of 6 fingers, then perhaps we would have developed a counting system with base 6, and perhaps a natural affinity for pizza and throwing majestic martial arts moves. Let me explain how base counting works. Our base 10 decimal counting system is the one we're all familiar with, and based on groupings of 10, it uses different symbols, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, to represent all the whole numbers we know. We then group numbers in batches of 10 as they are divisible by this base of 10, such as 10, 20, 30, 100, 500, 100,000, and they are reflected in our collective nouns, such as decade, century, millennium. It's intriguing to think that collective nouns we take for granted, such as a century in cricket or my top 10 of everything book, are an arbitrary choice based on our decimal system. It would be equally as valid for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to publish their top 6 of everything book, where in this alternate universe a young Roberto the Turtle learned to admire maths and enjoyed compiling lists of 6. If we use base 6, our counting would follow this order: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then pick up at 10, which would be 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, then pick up again at 20. But this 20 would represent 12 items in our decimal system. So the next time you make a trade to purchase an item with someone and say you'll give them a tenner for that signed West Ham matchday program, try this instead. Turn up with £6 and explain that you hadn't agreed to the base of the currency, and then be ready to run. A classic pub quiz question is to identify which country has the highest number of living languages, not dialects, otherwise London itself might win. Papua New Guinea, occupying the eastern part of the planet's second largest island north of Australia, holds this record with around 841, according to the Ethnologue Languages of the World study in 2018. Not coincidentally, perhaps, the tribes of this country also stake the claim for the most number of counting systems, perhaps 900. The Alum Black only have words for 1, 2, 50 and 20, and all their other numbers are constructed from those. Another, the Oksapmin, use base 27, as they count on 27 different body parts. To describe numbers larger than 27, they add the increment of 1 man. So to describe the number 50 would be 1 man, 27, and the left thumb, which is 23. In early human history, when people desired to keep a record of something, perhaps grain or other foodstuff, notches in sticks or stones were the natural solution. Numbers were built up with a repeated sign for each group of 10, continued by repeated signs for 1. The ancient Egyptians represented 1 with a vertical line and 10 as a hi-hat symbol. As they wrote from right to left, the number 25 would have been I, hat symbol. In contrast, the Babylonians used 60 as their base of their numerical system, which required them to use a different sign for every single number up to 59, in the same manner in which we need a different number for every digit up to 9 in our decimal system. The influence of the Babylonians' base of 60 still resonates today, particularly in our time systems, 60 seconds and minutes in angular measurement, and geometry, 180 degrees in a triangle and 360 degrees in a circle. The most practical concept that the Babylonians advanced was that of place value. This is where the same digit has a different value depending on where it occurs in the sequence. For example, for 444, the digit 4 means 400, 40, and 4, depending where it's placed. While this seems mundane to us now, this was revolutionary in Babylon. The next leap forward was the invention of the zero as its own number, which seems to have been achieved in my ancestral homeland of India around the 3rd century BC. Nowadays, the binary system with zeros and ones, base 2, allows computers to communicate with each other at phenomenal speeds. Counting is such a natural process to us that its copiousness is in plain sight all around us, even in our popular culture of music. From children, we are exposed to nursery rhymes, from the classic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, once I caught a fish alive, to 1, 2, buckle my shoe. As children move on to adult music, numbers are still prevalent in lyrics, such as the 2017 viral music hit Man's Not Hot by comedian turned rapper Big Shark, which opens 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 1, that's 3, quick maths. Once we have counting numbers established, we are then able to proceed with making comparisons. If I have 2 toy cars and my cousin has 4 toy cars, then I can establish that I would need a further 2 cars to have the same number as him. With this, we can start ranking and ordering items per individual, e.g. in order of who has the most cars. Various kinds of statistical techniques allow us to find meaning behind the data. To start with, we learn basic numbers, initially the natural numbers, counting numbers such as 1, 2, 3, etc. From there, we start to understand negative numbers and 0, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and expand our scope to integers. And beyond that, we could move into the realm of rational numbers, numbers that can be expressed as fractions, and then irrational numbers, surds, prime numbers, but these are for another journey. But I can't resist talking about prime numbers right now. These are the building blocks of mathematics, much like atoms for chemistry or a palette of colours for artists. These are the numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and so on. A prime number is a number greater than 1 that can only be divided by 1 and itself. So 17 is a prime number as it can only be divided by 1 and 17, whereas 10 is not a prime number as it can be divided by 2 and 5, as well as 1 and 10, of course. The mathematical obsession behind primes partly lies in the fact that all non-prime numbers above 1 can be expressed as the multiplication of primes. For instance, 30 can be written as 2 times 3 times 5, because 2, 3, and 5 are all primes. Likewise, 123,456,789 is 3 times 3 times 3,607 times 3,803. Beyond mathematical beauty, prime numbers underpin security in modern technology. The security of many encryption algorithms is based on the fact that while it is straightforward to multiply 2 large prime numbers and get an end product, it is incredibly challenging, even with a computer, to reverse this process. When we have a number that is the product of 2 primes, such as 21, which is 3 times 7, it is as easy as pie. But finding the 2 or more primes that multiply together for a very large number is problematic. Indeed, the search for an algorithm that can perform this rapidly is one of the largest unsolved problems in computer science. It has been impossible thus far for mathematicians to derive a truly efficient formula for factoring large numbers into primes. With small numbers such as 24, we can prime factorize this into 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 quite easily. We do have the technology to factor large numbers into primes, but if we start trying to use the same methods for 400 or 500 digit numbers, then even the most advanced computers in the world would take a ridiculously long time to solve. And we are talking about timescales that are longer than the age of Earth, and for ludicrously large numbers, perhaps even longer than the universe has existed. So, the next time you send a secure WhatsApp message, make an online transaction, or even use a cash point, it is likely that large prime number multiplications are protecting you. Even in the natural world, prime numbers are influential. There are cicada insect species on the east of the United States that leave their burrows in intervals of 7, 13, or 17 years. They have developed these natural rhythms through evolution, using prime number years of emerging to minimize overlapping with predators. In his bestseller Ever Since Darwin in 1977, the entomologist Stephen Jay Gould explained how potential predators often have a 2 to 5 year life cycle. If a predator had a 5-year life cycle and cicadas emerged every 15 years, each cicada emergence would be devastated by the predators. However, by emerging at larger prime number cycles, these cicadas minimize their overlaps with these greedy predators. For example, with 17-year cicada cycles, they would only coincide with the predators every 85 years, 17 times 5. As 13 and 17 are prime numbers, these year-length cycles cannot be tracked by any smaller number. It is truly remarkable that these insects use prime numbers to increase their chances of survival. Recently, I was at a session for Doctorate of Education candidates at Cambridge University to discuss the progress on their research on mathematics education. My personal research is on understanding the causes of maths anxiety. One of the other doctoral candidates, who was very close to being able to submit his final thesis, shared his experiences in his capacity as a former head of a maths department, recruiting prospective maths teachers to his secondary school. He asked me 3 questions about data handling in quick-fire succession that he often asked candidates. First question, what is the mode? My reply, the mode is the value that appears the most in a list of numbers. Second question, what is the median? The median is the middle value when a list of numbers is placed in ascending order from smallest to largest. And the final question, what is the mean? I said, the mean is the sum of all the numbers in a list divided by how many numbers there are. I had fallen into a classic trap. Yes, the mean can be calculated by the method I suggested, but he had asked me for the meaning, no pun intended, of mean. Part of mathematics is about being precise, and I had answered by giving the procedure for the calculation of the mean rather than the actual definition. The mean is the average of a set of numbers and can be calculated to be the central value of the set of numbers. It is used to represent the data through a single value. The nuance is quite subtle, but when we calculate the arithmetic mean as discussed, this is a single value that can be used to represent the data. The Oxford English Dictionary defines the average as a number expressing the central or typical value in a set of data, in particular the mode, the median, or most commonly the mean, which can be calculated as previously stated. So when we are asked about the average salary in a company or the average life expectancy in a population, we are trying to find a number to express the typical value in that data set, the total number of employees in a company, or the total size of a country's population. We usually refer to the arithmetic mean, but as vigilant users of statistics, we should always be cognizant of which average we are using. The phrase lies, damned lies, and statistics was popularized across the Atlantic by American author Mark Twain, among others. He attributed this to 19th century British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, who apparently said, "There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics." So, while the origin of this quote is disputed, the message it sends is that we need to be prudent when approaching numbers in an applied situation. Imagine a scenario where I told you about two prospective jobs available. Two companies, A and B, each have 10 people who earn an average salary of £22,000 per year. If you received a job offer from both, you should in theory be indifferent to both. But this is where understanding how data and averages are used is crucial. First, the type of average used is the arithmetic mean, adding up the total salaries and dividing by the number of staff. However, upon further digging, you uncover that the reality is deceptive. Company A has 9 staff on £10,000 per year and the boss on £120,000 per year. Company B has 9 staff on £15,000 per year and the boss on £80,000 per year. Now a clearer picture emerges. Company B is patently better for the majority of working staff, but the mean gives a misleading picture. Here, the mode, or even better, the median salary, should enable you to make a better choice. Company B has a median of $15,000 and obviously is the more beneficial option for you, unless of course you are being offered the CEO's job. This micro picture with this example becomes crystal clear when looking at a macro picture of the UK economy. About 2/3 of the UK working population back in 2007 earned less than the mean salary. Think about that for a second. For that to be true, there must be some people among the third who earn more than the mean salary, dramatically more. Income distribution results in the very high earners distorting the mean, and thus it's not a useful metric for this kind of data. Instead, the median salary, the person in the middle, is a better indicator of what the average person earns. As in my example, the outliers can damage the reliability of interpreting the arithmetic mean as a proxy for the whole population. So, our journey with numbers starts as we learn to count the natural numbers 1, 2, 3, and so on. From there, we encounter negative numbers and how numbers can represent relationships between things even if we can't see them. We can see 2 toy cars, but not -2 toy cars. From here, we can learn to make comparisons between sets of data, trying to work out who's the quicker sprinter, which is the higher ranked football team, or the better value house to buy. Numbers give us this objective framework by which to hang our subjective views. W.E.B. Du Bois, an American sociologist and civil rights activist, put it best when he said, "When you have mastered numbers, you will in fact no longer be reading numbers any more than you read words when reading books. You will be reading meanings."